Divine Calling, Reverend Dr. Holly Namok Lee, Pastor United Methodist Church. Translator, Mrs. Irene Park. Reader, Jacob Lee. Special thanks to all members who support and pray for Manoah Ministry. The Lord continued to speak. Do you remember what I said when I first called you? You said, if you love me, feed my sheep. What does it mean to feed my sheep? It means to feed the word to your sheep. I understood it as to preach the gospel by becoming a minister, and I obeyed to the calling. Then does it mean that only ministers can feed my sheep? No, it is not so. It is possible through lay ministries as well as in schools. Anybody can do it. That's exactly it. Even though I did not call you to become pastor, you chose the most effective way to feed the word. You never asked if this calling was to become a minister, but you have walked this road quite well because the gifts of the Holy Spirit backed you up. I have called you to become a revivalist. You are gifted with revival. Whatever you touch, they revive. The numerical increase of people, economic revival, and the heart of people revive. The reason you did not get to pastor a church is because I did not call you there. Even though you made your own choice, I used you according to my will. I used you to feed my sheep outside the church and not pastor a local church. Therefore, I have no regrets. I used you according to my will, and you have successfully carried out the mission utilizing the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Your husband is a born pastor. He is a man of integrity, truth, and patience. He is fit to pastor a church. Could he lead a revival meeting? Could you pastor a church? I led both of you to accomplish the most appropriate missions at the most appropriate places. Finally, you seem to be getting it now. You thought you had to get out of the church because it was difficult for two pastors to work together. But it was me who called you out of the church because you were not called there. Then why didn't my husband have the calling? Even though I did not call him, his father had made a pledge. He said that if he receives a son, he will promise to make him a minister. And without his son's knowledge, he applied to the theological seminary, and that led him to become a minister. Since he has the integrity, he was able to walk the way as a pastor without much fault. If his father had not made that pledge, which direction would you have led my husband? There is no ifs in faith. Since he walked his way sincerely, there is no need to ask about the past again. But without calling, pastoring a church must have been very difficult for him. You are right. Since it was not his calling, he had no passion. At times, he seriously considered about quitting. Sometimes, he became a spectator. Calling provides the reasons to continue the mission. For you, the prayers of your ancestors backed you up strongly, and you had a passionate ministry. The calling is like the foundation as you build a house. If the ground base is weak, the house cannot last long. Likewise, the calling is the foundation of the roadway to a ministry. Those who built on the rock will not sway. Imagine if there were no foundation. Would it ever be possible to build a house? When confronted with challenging situations in the ministry, the power to get back to the track is obtained through the strong sense of the calling. Isn't the reason for not giving up until the end is rooted on the certainty of the calling? That is why it is so important to receive it. Without my calling, it is like constructing a building on an unstable foundation. Naturally, there is no enthusiasm, and it is quite possible to become like a spectator and could leave any time. You have held on tightly to the calling of feeding my sheep and successfully preserved and walked this difficult road even though you are a woman. I will surely give a reward to you and your descendants. Then please, tell me about your calling. All of you have my calling. Firstly, you were called from darkness, death and curse, and came to the light, life and freedom. And then you were called to holiness. In order to move towards holiness, you were called to fellowship, and also called to receive blessings, Abraham. But the most fundamental aspect is that all of you were called to holiness, purity, and salvation, to a life centered on the Holy Temple. And that is the general calling for Christians as a church. Since all of you responded to that calling, you are out of darkness and now live a faithful life of saints in light. As Christians, you can cultivate your life by doing things you desire and enjoy according to the gifts and talents you were endowed with. Everyone has a choice. There is no plan which I preset for a person such as you ought to become a businessman or an artist. I have never made such a thing as destiny. Therefore, live freely in the Word, following the lead of the Holy Spirit. This is the general calling. But there is a special calling for my work. Is that called divine vocation? That's right. Pastors, evangelists, teachers, apostles, and prophets are such. These are my special callings, and they entered into the vocation because they are sure of it. Then do they all have the divine vocation? No. Those are the ones who specially receive the appropriate mantle for the vocation. I chose the people I need according to the times, and they either respond or not respond. Many people calculate before they build a watchtower. Some feel the burden as to whether to continue, or if they are fit for the job, and give up before they respond to my calling. But you ought to remember the fact that I will anoint them and clothe them with power from above to carry out the missions. There is not a person who can run to the end with own abilities and resources. I will take the full responsibility toward the leaders I have called until the end without any regrets. My word is faithful, so trust me and respond to my calling. What I dislike the most are those people who choose to become ministers because there is nothing better to do, or after they have failed at businesses, or after coming to a dead end in life. The pastoral path ought to be taken by the blameless, whom I've especially called for the vocation. It is not a choice to take as a waste. If only the blameless can do the job, there wouldn't be anyone. The blameless means those who give their first and their most valuable thing. Those who join the ministry because whatever they had tried failed, they will also fail in ministries because of the absence of the calling. The roadway of a pastor is not where you hide from the failures in this world. I want you to give me your first things such as time, fortune, and health. I do not welcome a person who had been immersed in the world while he was full of energy and then becomes a minister after he became old because there is nothing valuable to do. But aren't there people whom you called in the middle of their lives? Right? It is people like Peter. They were fishermen, but they were called by me while they were working. After Peter experienced the full catch in his ship, he confessed, "My Lord, I am a sinner," and followed the path ever since. Peter was not called when his business failed, but it was when he was very successful. Usually, those who can succeed in businesses can also succeed in ministries, and successful ministers can also succeed in businesses. The reasons for their failures, either in the world or in churches, are rooted from their personal shortcomings, lack of wisdom, lack of diligence, and lack of integrity. It has nothing to do with their calling. Then, why are there people who keep asking your will toward them and not do anything? It is because they are fatalists. They think I preset their future and want them to follow the path. Satan makes each person's fate and wait for the victims to get caught up in the trap like a spider web. But I gave an open life. Whatever you do, it all depends on your free choice. It is like drawing on a blank paper. You decide what to draw. Life is continuation of making choices. I just want to remind you that if you choose what I like, it is a blessing, because that is the best way. Then, teach us the way to know what you desire and what brings you joy. People's lives are categorized into several types: living a life I want, living a life parents want, living a life Satan wants, dedicated life for the society or country, or living with no thoughts whatsoever, etc. What I desire, they are all written in the Bible. As you choose those and go forward, you will not fail, and you will keep walking forward without return. And your heart will be full of peace and joy. The intention of your heart either gives me joy or gives Satan joy. If what I want and what you want coincide, your lives will triumph. Please say a word to those who are still wandering without finding their ways. Tell them, put your hand on your chest and think, what is the reason for this indecision? Do you think that I am silent in spite of your continuous questions? Ask honestly what you truly want. If you want to do something, first make a decision and ask me for the necessary resources. You tend to just wait for my answer. I can help you after you make a decision, but of course, seeking my wisdom in decision making is worthy. Even all of that is written in the Bible. Furthermore, do not go to ministers and ask which direction to take. They are not fortune tellers, and of course, they do not know. I want you to pray. Not only I do not tell a person's future to somebody else, but also no one's future is predestined. The pastor's job is to only recommend and share the wisdom of life and suggest directions. I think that kind of problem is the most frustrating. Neither move forward nor give up. Life is a continuous journey of making choices. Children ought to be trained from an early age with discipline to holiness by meditating on the Word. Too many children depend on their parents for too long, and they lack the spiritual independence to make their own decisions and move forward. As Adam united with Eve, a man must leave his parents and be united with his wife. But young people these days are not independent from their parents physically as well as spiritually. They ought to train themselves for independence and train to make decisions in life based on the Bible. Spiritually, they are adult children forever. They have no idea what to do at the point of decision making, and they are confused and in pain. Then, to whom can they ask for help for decision making? Should they do it by themselves? Tell them to seek wisdom from the seniors in life. Parents are forever mentors, and you ought to have at least a few mentors who can share their wisdom. Christians who led their families well, those who successfully educated their children, and those who triumph in the society can all be mentors and counselors. Walk your life with them. The best mentor is the Holy Spirit. He will let you know often when to move on and when to stop, and he will lead you to the best way. Invite the Holy Spirit as your life's best mentor through prayers. Learn to commune with him. He will lead you to the best life. I'll say it again. I never set your destinies in advance. I could give you the wisdom to discern what might be the best way, but the last decision making is up to you, because it is you who knows about you the best. Do not fool yourself. Ask honestly and answer honestly. The answer ought to be there. Do not make excuses and blame others. You can order these 3 books from Amazon Kindle: 365 Prayers of Blessing for Your Children, Theory and Praxis of Landwork, The Lord's Visitation for 14 Days. This video is made by Reverend Dr. Holly Namok Lee, who is a minister of the United Methodist Church. She got a degree of Doctor of Ministry at Claremont Theological Seminary in California. She is an executive director of Menoa Ministry. She carries a healing ministry. She is an author of 40 books and led 1,000 revival services and over 200 seminars for ministers. Now she lives in California with her husband, Reverend Peter Yongtaek Lee. She is the 4th daughter of Dr. Sung Bum Yun, former president of Methodist Theological University in Seoul, Korea. In Hebrew, Menoa is an adjective that describes being restful. We use the term Menoa as a noun. Please hit that subscribe button for more videos, and thank you for watching this video.